Are you ready to heal? Another one I have learned, and we're all learning, and I'm still working on, is if you're feeling anxiety, which has been an issue for me my entire life, treat it with medication and not substances. Hello, beautiful beings. We're going to talk about a topic that I'm guessing may be close to home. Being an empath and feeling anxiety and shame. You're here on this channel, I bet, because you feel those things. Me too. I've been working on that for a very long time. Today, I'm going to share with you some of the things I've learned and some tips about what to do and some comfort about how the work continues and the journey gets more productive, more beautiful, more rewarding. So are you ready? Here we go. Here is my really fancy drawing of an empath. By an empath, I mean those of us who have a childhood wound that has left us needing a lot of reinforcement. Those childhood wounds can be addressed in different ways. Many of us are more used to talking about how narcissists cope with those childhood wounds. When we're empaths, we cope with those wounds by scanning the environment always. We're always looking. We're always trying to sense what are other people thinking and feeling. This is leftover stuff from when we were kids. Everybody has stuff left over from when they were kids. And the thing is, when you're scanning all the time, it also means that it's very tough for you, for me, for all of us who might be called empaths, to stay in our heart and directly ask for what we want. We think that if we ask somebody else, they will give it to us. We will talk more about that later. But today, we're going to talk about anxiety and shame and how anxiety and shame tie back into this kind of wobbliness of being an empath. So let's think about anxiety for a minute. I am a pro at anxiety. Anxiety is about the future. It's not in the moment. In the moment, we may feel fear, but anxiety is taking our minds out into a possible future and thinking, oh, what if this? What if that? It is imagining possible negative outcomes. It's not being in the present, it's imagining bad things that could happen. And the other thing I've learned recently about anxiety is it may not be so much fear of the thing itself, but the fear of feeling anxious. Like I am very anxious about driving. I've spent a lot of years being anxious about driving. Once I'm driving, I'm fine. What triggers me is, oh, I don't want to have that anxious feeling. You know that feeling where your heart speeds up and your mouth gets dry and, you feel kind of, ugh. That feeling is one we learn to avoid. That's anxiety, and that's tied to being empathic and being out there in the world, having our energy out there instead of inside ourselves. The same thing is true for shame. The messages of shame are the messages that were planted in the soil of whatever wounds we have as coming from childhood. My wound from childhood, I think, is a pretty common one. My dad worked all the time, all the time, all the time. And I interpreted that as being about me, and so I felt abandoned. All kids think that whatever happens to them because they're bad, right? And I thought, oh, if I were just more lovable, prettier, more graceful, if I were more in some way, then my dad would be around more. Which sounds really silly when you say it out loud, but those are the kinds of beliefs that we hold inside. And those beliefs lead to shame. where we feel shame even because somebody said something to us once casually. I remember once when I was a kid, my Aunt Bernice, who loved me very much, she was kind of weird about cleaning. She owned a dry cleaning plant. And she said to me one day, "Ronna Sue, you really smell worse than most girls." And I thought, oh my gosh, I smell terrible. I am a smelly person. So let's say from the time I was 12 to the time I was 72, I thought I smelled bad. Guess what? No. But we get those shame messages, and if we don't clean them out, not only do they stay in there, but they grow roots, they get stronger, they get more powerful, and they start running our lives. The other thing I want to say before I put this one down is that shame is great for haters. One of the things I've realized is that if I'm not ashamed of something, a hater can say whatever they want and I don't care. Like, I'm pretty confident that I'm good with the English language. And so when haters have said to me, you're a terrible writer, not so much. If a hater says to me now, oh, I think you smell bad, if I still was holding on to shame, that I would believe. So shame is like a little hook and eye. It's an eye where a hater can hook on and give you a message that you will believe and that will make the shame more powerful. Does that work? Do you even have hooks and eyes on your clothes anymore? Anyway, so here's my question for all of us today. I want to be close because I want to really ask you in yourself, are you ready to heal? Are you ready to heal? Are you ready to heal? I have some thoughts based on my experience and my reading about things that you can do, that I can do, that we can do right now that are healing. This one came to me this morning. Care for your heart as much as you would a narcissist, right? If you're an empath, you are probably like me, a magnet for narcissists. And you've spent a lot of your life trying to figure out what they need, what he needs, what she needs. And you try to anticipate their needs and take care of them so they don't have a moment where they're not taken care of. A very high level of caretaking. What if you said, I'm going to take care of myself as much as well as I take care of them? Really high bar, right? And that's the bar we need to set for ourselves in order to heal. We have to commit to caring for ourselves as much as we would care for any garden variety narcissist. What does that look like? I go back to the heart. And I am thinking that a way to approach this is to treat your heart like your beloved, like the object of your love. Take it outside. Your heart wants to go outside every day. Take your heart for a stroll. Feed it beauty. It doesn't have to be so fancy. It can just be the intention of doing an image search online where you're looking for things that nourish you. Lately, I've been drawn to looking at black and white photographs of butterflies emerging from their pupae. For whatever reason, that is very beautiful to me. Find whatever is beautiful and feed that to your heart until your heart is full. Not stuffed, not the way you can feel after too long at a museum, but full. Another one I have learned, and we're all learning, and I'm still working on, is if you're feeling anxiety, which has been an issue for me my entire life, treat it with medication and not substances. Let me say that again. Treat it with medication and not substances. That means working with someone who can prescribe medication for you and not reaching for substances to numb it out. That could be alcohol, that could be drugs. For me, it actually can be chocolate. Like, what are the substances you're using to numb your anxiety? If what you want to do is treat your anxiety, medication is better. And over the course of time, with treatment, you can wean off medication, harder to wean off substances. My last recommendation is spending more of your time, a larger percentage of your time with people who have loving hearts, with people who aren't just sucking up your energy and taking it for themselves. You know, a while ago, I was working with a nutritionist who was amazing. And her philosophy was, forget about getting rid of things. Don't think about getting rid of sweets. Think about more vegetables. By the time you think about more vegetables, then you've got to buy the vegetables, you've got to cook the vegetables, you have to see more vegetables on the plate. Sweets become less important. It's not so much about cutting people out of your life who resemble sweets. It's about who in your life is going to be a life vegetable. I'm doing another video about this now, and if you subscribe and you look for it, it's a video called The People Tree that has some more recommendations on how to do this. That turned out to be Granny's last board. What can I tell you? But what I do want to tell you is that I'm with you. We're together on the journey. If you found this useful, give it a thumbs up. Give me some comments. I have another video that if this one was helpful that you might find of use. I made it about how when you're full of intention and you're on life's path and suddenly life sideswipes you and you can't do what you were meant to do. I got a cold that turned out to be pneumonia, and I had all these plans and I couldn't do any of them. But it turns out that the direct line from here to there, from here to what my goal is never as rich a journey, is never the path that leads to as rich a life as the journey where life is kind of pushing me in different directions, and I'm sometimes meandering on a stream, I'm sometimes going up a mountain. That's what this video is all about. You might want to take a look at that one too. Thanks and love.